Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to our second panel of the day. You heard from business school officials before, and now you're going to hear from some of their alums. We have 4 alums from 4 great schools, 4 great programs, who have already been launched on their careers. We're going to talk to them about their experience in getting an undergraduate business degree and what the payoff was. So let me introduce you to them, and I'm going to ask each of them, incidentally, to give maybe a fun fact about themselves and give you a little sense of what I didn't fill in on them. We have, and I don't know if the gallery view is the same for everyone, so I won't refer to where you might be on the page, but we have from Miami farmer Franklin Popek, who is a class of 2016 graduate who is now at Vanderbilt in the first year of the 2-year MBA program. He had been in retail and consumer products marketing before going to Vanderbilt. We have Chris Gervasio, 2017 undergrad from the University of Houston, who then went on to get his master's in accounting and graduated in 2018. He's a lead financial analyst at Discover. We have Anastasia Palak. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Palak?
Paluch, but that's okay.
Paluch. I like Paluch better than Palak. Anastasia is from New Jersey, the Rutgers Business School. She is actually not only from my home state, but from my home county from years ago, although now I'm in California. Anastasia is a senior consultant with Optis Consulting, which is a boutique consulting firm that specializes in procurement solutions. She graduated from Rutgers in 2016. And then we have Brett Friedberg, who is a senior consultant with SIA Partners. He graduated in 2017 from the University of Illinois Gies College of Business. So Brett, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a fun fact to help us get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me. Really happy to be speaking along with all my colleagues here. So I'm from Chicago originally, still live here today. Like you said, 2017 grad with a degree in finance. I also minored in leadership studies, so that was a fun thing I kind of added on to my degree. Worked 3 years at Grant Thornton in their risk advisory practice, and recently took up my current role as a senior consultant with SIA Partners, where I work on strategy and transformation for financial services companies. So really played into my hand there of my finance degree and what I was looking to do. In terms of a fun fact, that's definitely a hard one. I would say not maybe so fun, but I have 4 older sisters and no brothers. So I was born into a house full of women, and a lot of people like asking about that. So I could say that that's probably one of my little fun facts there.
Right. Hey, that's a good fun fact. I think that's an educational experience in and of itself. Anastasia, tell us a little bit about your career so far and a fun fact.
Sure. So hi, I'm Anastasia Paluch. I'm a certified supply chain professional, as well as a project management professional. I graduated from the Rutgers Business School in May of 2016 with a dual bachelor's of science in both finance and supply chain management. In my professional background, I've worked at Fortune 500 firms like Schlumberger Limited, Intel Corporation, as well as the Big Four. And currently, I'm a senior consultant at Optis Consulting, which is a boutique consulting firm specializing in source-to-pay and procurement transformations. A fun fact about me is I play classical piano, and I've been doing so for 20 years.
Wow. What's your favorite composition to play?
Claire de Lune.
Oh, well, that's a favorite, and that's a favorite of many people.
Yeah.
And something that everyone should know. Chris, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thanks, John. So my name is Chris Gervasio. I am a Houston, born and raised native Houstonian, native Texan, so I haven't left the city quite yet. I graduated from the Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston in 2017 with my undergraduate in accounting, as well as 2018 with my master's. After that, I went to go work for ExxonMobil, supporting some of their African operations and exploration and new activities there. And during the pandemic, I received an opportunity to kind of switch industries a little bit. And I got an opportunity to go work for Discover Financial Services, where I'm a lead financial analyst for them. A fun fact is, checking the date one more time, I get married in 18 days from today. So
okay,
very excited.
congratulations.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. So I'm glad my fiance let me take some time from wedding planning to come and represent our university.
Oh my goodness, I know how hectic it can be to plan for a wedding. So please send my great appreciation for her
Will do.
understanding as well.
Absolutely.
Franklin, you're involved in an MBA program right now, and probably not a marriage, but give us your lowdown.
First, John, thanks for having me tonight and the rest of my colleagues to share my Farmer School of Business experience with the audience. But by way of introduction, my name is Franklin Popek. I did graduate from Miami University in the Farmer School of Business in 2016, where I majored in both marketing and supply chain and operations management. Academically, I was part of the university and the Farmer School of Business honors programs. After summer internships each year after Miami, I graduated and joined Deloitte Consulting as a full-time analyst. I primarily served in our retail and consumer product sector, where I really helped those types of clients really position marketing as a growth engine for their enterprise and really just adjust to the rapid changing customer trends that are occurring in our world today. Like you alluded to, John, I am currently a MBA candidate at the Vanderbilt University Owen Graduate School of Management, where I'm a sponsored student through the Graduate School Assistance Program at Deloitte. So upon graduation, I'll be returning to the firm as a senior consultant.
Now, let me translate that for everyone out there. That means that Franklin gets a free MBA because Deloitte's picking up the bills. Now, if Franklin decides to go somewhere else, he's got to pay them back. Right?
You're not wrong. It's a great place to work, though. So really excited to return.
Deloitte's a real terrific world-class firm. So Franklin, let's start with you. What led you to pursue an undergraduate business degree in the first place? And because I think that, people who are in high school, many of them really don't know what they're going to do. They don't really understand business and all the different opportunities that business may afford them. How did you know that early on? And ultimately, how did you make your decision to major in business?
Sure. So I really sought a training in which I could graduate and be functionally very well trained, but not defined by my formal training. So what I see and mean by that is I saw undergraduate business education as an opportunity to obtain core skills, both quantitative and qualitatively, as a firm foundation, but really as an opportunity to go out in the workplace and demonstrate thinking along critical dimensions, analytical dimensions, and even independent thought. And at the same time, I really wanted to infuse that core training with my dynamic communication abilities, collaborative nature, high emotional intelligence, a well-rounded self, and a truly global perspective. And I saw that as, a home in the business school. I think if we look across other majors and schools within a university, typically there's so much anchored and so much definition by that core training that you receive. But I saw business just slightly different in that I was able to kind of build on the core trainings that I was going to receive over my 4 years in undergraduate education, and then go out into this world where I had a very broad aperture and, kind of pursue an avenue that I wanted to pursue and, bring to life my unique skill sets to an organization.
Great. Brett, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, you can see how Franklin's MBA is coming in handy here. What a great response. Definitely want to, echo everything that he said for sure. And so I had an interesting, start to my college experience where I actually started off as a political science major. So I ended up transferring to the College of Business. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe I wanted to become a lawyer. And so really echoing what Franklin said, I thought that going into business really allowed me to have a better foundation of my own skills and allowed me to, along with my finance major and other core classes, being able to, get familiar with the world of business, qualitative and quantitatively, just as Franklin said, and use my own personal, personality and let that shine. Definitely think that it allowed me to bring my whole self into my classes and even now in the workplace as well.
How are your business classes different than your political science classes? I'm a political science and English major, so.
Yeah, it was 1 year and I kind of was already taking business classes on the side. So it's a great question too. I would say I was a lot more comfortable in my business classes. I think I realized I had a more business mindset than the political science side of things. And it was also political science a lot more theoretical, not more looking backwards, whereas I thought business, we could really look forward and whether it's with group projects or other assignments, you really get to more actively think as opposed to just regurgitate some, information. So that's another aspect that I really liked for my shift all the way back freshman year of college.
Great. Anastasia, why business?
So one of the reasons I really wanted to get into business was just I've watched my mother throughout the years. She's a successful managing director in finance and wealth management, and I've always just aspired to become a successful woman in business. I wasn't really sure when I came to the Rutgers Business School what I wanted to do. I initially started out as a finance major and then, became inspired by supply chain and later added that on. But it's really just my, pursuing trying to be a successful woman in business.
And follow in the footsteps of your mom.
Yep.
That's
She's a
great.
big inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, how about you?
Well, as Brett mentioned, Franklin got to put on his MBA skills, so I will probably reflect my undergraduate skills. In high school, and I've told this story to the dean of our college, to recruiters with organizations as I was an undergraduate student looking for jobs, so this is not a new story. In high school, I went to an all-boys school. I wanted to take classes with girls that were at our sister school. And one of the electives that were offered that I was encouraged by an upperclassman to take was accounting. A lot of the girls took it at the school, and there was a lot of opportunities for guys to get some seats. And it was a great opportunity, I thought, to meet some other ladies in high school. I sat down. I was very much outnumbered by other men in the class and other boys in the class. But what I found for me was taking that accounting course opened my eyes to the ability to really read financials and read what are going on in wide ranges of industries and businesses, and having the fundamentals to be able to truly understand what makes a company tick is incredibly invaluable when I'm starting off my career and when I'm starting off my life, that it can go in so many different paths, and that I can, similar to what Brett said, use my personality and my communication skills partnered with those technical skills can really be a sharp knife in the business world. And so that's, although unconventional and very much, I appreciate that I found my fiance in business school. It was how I ended up choosing business. And that's kind of how I ended up here, wacky sort of way.
And we should tell people that, if you learn how to read the numbers and interpret them on an income statement or a balance sheet, there's a story behind it. Numbers tell stories. And it's kind of revealing, and it's kind of like inventive to discover the story through the numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So let's stay with you, Chris, and ask you, what were the key factors that essentially led you to choose Houston's Bauer School for your education to begin with?
That's a great question, John. So for me, coming from a college preparatory school, I was really kind of keened in on going to a large university, but then being a member of our business honors program. I wanted to get the big university feeling while also having the small class feeling of camaraderie and attention with our professors and building relationships with those around me. And so I found that the business honors program at the University of Houston, which for Texas, I did a lot of recruiting for them, is the only fully integrated business honors program in the state. That means that I was able to both participate in our honors college for the whole university, which focuses a lot on liberal arts studies, as well as taking business honors clear guided courses. I got the best of both worlds. I got the large feeling of a large university who just made it to the Final Four, and we're big supporters of athletics, while also getting a small course and classroom feeling with some of our incredibly minded professors. And that's really what drove me to stay in Houston. My mom can tell you, John, I never wanted to stay in Houston. As a high schooler, I was the first person saying, I want to move somewhere else. And I just found the perfect university for me. And that's what I've always told people, was that at the end of the day, you've just got to find the right fit for you.
And I'm glad you got the Final Four in there too.
So am I.
Anastasia, how about you? What were the factors that led you to decide to go to Rutgers Business School?
Well, so one of them is that Rutgers is such a huge university. It's got a lot of different schools, majors, opportunities, clubs, like you name it, you can make yourself at Rutgers. And with that also comes an excellent alumni base and just a huge network of people that you can reach out to. But one of the reasons I chose to go into the Rutgers Business School, or we call it RBS, is really just because of my professors who are career professionals, and they brought in their real life world experiences into our classrooms. It was never just teaching from the textbook and theory, but more about, here, let's pause and let's actually talk you through what you would experience in your real world. What happens after graduation? How would this apply to you? How can you figure this out? So one of those experiences, and just, Rutgers is such a great university and great school.
Great. Franklin, why Miami Farmer?
Sure. So admittedly, I applied to 13 undergraduate schools. I took my parents from sea to shining sea. And when I was thinking about, why Miami, I think it ultimately boils down to three differentiating elements. So the first being the undergraduate focus. So I really greatly enjoyed the uninterrupted focus of the time, the talent, and the treasure of the school, the faculty and staff, and the programming, as it was dedicated to the program that I was going to be a part of, and in this case, the undergraduate business education. So I really valued that as the first element. The second element to me is all about the integrated and experiential student learning. So the Farmer School curriculum, unlike any other that I had found at the time, purposefully mapped and integrated core skills. Now they call it the first year integrated core, in which every freshman would be a part of, to the traditional core classes and the required courses in every major, including like all the senior capstones. And even from my very first year, first semester, we were working with real clients like KeyBank and Abercrombie and Fitch and Target, just to name a few, to integrate these essential skills that we were learning in our intro business classes and reporting up to a real client on a real business situation that they were facing. And so no one in my search could even come close to within the realm of possibility, quite frankly, to the Farmer School in promoting the experiential learning opportunities that they afforded. And I really valued that. And then third, real fast, John, I'll add the teacher-scholar model was so important to me. And so the Farmer School really employs like a faculty body that is committed to teaching excellence, but also more importantly to me, like a personal relationship and mentorship opportunities that just brings, that experiential learning into the classroom, a deep knowledge of kind of your story as a student and your aspirations as a professional. That really is, great for learning in the classroom, outside the classroom, but also like super motivating for student engagement. And so I think that really well balanced like faculty and scholar model is the motto of this school, where teaching is, excellent, and like the high quality research comes into the classroom that just builds a really overall great learning environment that I enjoyed.
Terrific. How about Gies? Brett, why?
Yeah, sure. So even before, attending undergrad, I was very close to going to run track down at Emory in Atlanta. And, one day I kind of woke up prior to, almost a few days before having to make that decision to attend Illinois and say, you know what, I don't want to run track anymore. So I chose Illinois for a variety of reasons, and really a lot of echoing of what my colleagues here said. First and foremost, my parents both attended Illinois, and that's where they met. And so I did have a close tie there, of course, being just a few hours south of Chicago. So I knew that I would have that close, home family feel. And it's we do have a lot of undergrads from in-state, but it was so big that it also allowed me to kind of spread my own wings and allow me to forge my own path, just as my example gave of being able to, transfer from the liberal arts college into the Gies College of Business. So once in the Gies College of Business, I really even felt that community even further, and was able to make a lot more friends from all the different wide ranges of the earth, and also expand my curriculum. Similarly, as Franklin was alluding to, the Gies College of Business also offers a lot of opportunities to get your core classes in, but then figure out what do you want to do, and here is a bunch of different classes of how you can get your degree finally. And so really finding out what interests you. So I was really given that flexibility and that wide realm of education, while also being in a community that I was familiar with, but also was able to grow in as well.
And Brett, obviously, if you are a business major, a given is that you're going to learn business skills. But what did you develop beyond the business skills that you were given by Gies?
Yeah, I think that the importance of forging meaningful connections and kind of treating everyone you meet with respect. I think that can come in a lot of different ways. And now in, tumultuous world that we live in, that might be not as inherently given. But it's a value that I think can be pushed aside at times. And, learning not to judge based on first impressions and really getting to know someone's story, staying curious, asking questions, that really was just given to me and really impressed upon me through my studies, especially at Gies. So I'd say that. And I know that you could probably say that for a lot of majors, but I really just felt that was something I took away. And before I hand the ball off, I do want to just say that Chris gave me a little PTSD on the Final Four, as of course we know Illinois had a lot of success prior to March Madness. So that was quite a upsetting time for all Illinois alum.
All right. Chris, what did you learn beyond the business basics?
So John, I'd like to apologize for any slights given the tournament that we had this year for just everyone, both on the call and on the live stream. I think I'm very grateful we had a tournament. What did I learn outside of the classroom, outside the business skills? So I would say Bauer operates very uniquely in that we're a very diverse university sitting in a metropolitan city. We have a lot of non-traditional, traditional students, international students. And I think something that's really ingrained in our culture is just the power and the value of authenticity and vulnerability in leadership and in business, because it takes you so far. And so many studies have shown the value of just vulnerability and authenticity in leaders, that for us is something that is ingrained outside of the classroom. And it's ingrained in our ability to connect with one another and to sit next to someone who may be a non-traditional student, a working mom who's going back to school for the first time to get an official degree in a career that she's had for many years, and to sit with me as a traditional student who graduated at 18 years old, went immediately to college, lived on campus. Getting that perspective, especially I think nowadays when that's not something that maybe is seen as much of, is incredibly valuable for me as just human development and character development. Makes me a better person, and I would like to believe it would make me a better business professional.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that, this is something a business education does. I mean, you can major in a lot of other subjects in a lot of other departments or colleges, but you might not get leadership development, professional development. You might not get the kind of advice you need to immediately land a job that you really want. You might not get the sense of how do you work in a team effectively with diverse individuals from different cultures and very different ideas from your own. These are all things that are really life skills that you learn in the business program that you might not get if you major in political science or in English like I did. Anastasia, what did you learn beyond the business basics at Rutgers?
So, I mean, I can echo what everyone has said so far. I mean, Rutgers is also a very diverse school with a lot of traditional and non-traditional learners. But, one of the main things I learned was really the real world experience that a lot of my professors brought into the classroom. And we had lots of company exposure through different information sessions and case studies, client projects. We had also internships that we would do in class for credit. So there was a lot of experience that I could learn there, but also Rutgers requires you to differentiate yourself. It's always that question of and what else can you do? And so you got this major and what, who do you define yourself as and what can you do with that? And who will you make yourself after this education?
Yeah. And those are important questions for young people to try to answer. You may not be able to answer all of them, but if directionally you're on the path, that's helpful in and of itself. Franklin, how about you? What are the things that really you took away from your undergraduate experience beyond basic knowledge in marketing, finance, accounting?
Sure, I'll build on kind of what we've heard. So I think the farmer school, to kind of succinctly put it, they really cultivate students that are functionally well trained and thrive in the relational elements of business. And I think that's why the farmer school has such high placement in internships and full-time, just because they're like the top performers at their companies because of this like high touch student learning experience, the, like Anastasia's point, the ample access to executives, like the plethora of interactions with recruiters that are available, that are walking our halls daily. It just really gives students a significant opportunity to rightly conduct themselves in different formats of, you call it networking or just kind of day-to-day operations. But I think the like prevalence of all of those opportunities compounded by the peer mentorship culture and the club involvement. And I like Anastasia's point of like the and what else, fosters a really team-oriented environment and a culture of like seeking out opportunities for continual improvement, both inside and outside the classroom. And I always tell myself there's truly a Miami difference. It's really hard to articulate, but it's a real thing. And so many people bring it up.
So if you had to say what kind of qualities describe your classmates, what would you say?
Yeah, I think the first word that comes to mind, John, is poised. So Miami students and farmer students are beyond ready for every situation. And I think like the farmer school of experience, it's truly like a fully immersive one. It transforms high school kids into professionals and like smart brainiacs into contributing innovators. And so farmer school students really don't shy away from conversations with top executives. They also don't shy away from rolling up their sleeves and digging into the data, or even like, facilitating the ever important like networking coffee chats that are often intimidating to a lot of us. But it's truly, 4 years of growth and maturation that makes you beyond ready for, whatever comes your way, both in life and in your professional career.
Brett, how about you? What quality best describes your classmates?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would ultimately say collaborative. I think, everyone that I met through Gies was always very ready to help on assignments, get study groups together, help out with, recruiting and resumes, and go out of their way to assist. And, you would walk into the business instructional facility, or BIF, as we like to call it, and there's tables of people working together. You go into the market information lab and you can learn Bloomberg or Capital IQ, Morningstar, everyone's always just working together. And I think that's something that really translates well into, everyone's professional career as well. So I think that probably describes my classmates well.
And let me tell everyone who may not know that Bloomberg and Capital IQ are databases to extract information on companies and markets to help you make decisions, essentially.
Thanks for that, John.
Yeah, that's okay. Chris, how about you?
John, it's really hard to find one word because I feel like I can use so many words to talk up the Bauer College of Business. But one that my friends, my colleagues, and I have used on podcasts and in other interviews is just grit. We are a gritty school. We are not afraid. There is no problem and there's no opportunity that isn't something that we will throw ourselves after, that we will work hard to solve. I think that's proven just in our rankings with our entrepreneurship program, with our sales program, and with all of the opportunities afforded to the University of Houston. Being in Texas, it's a competitive environment for lots of universities in Texas. And what makes our students unique is just our ability to keep pushing the envelope of what we are allowed and can accomplish, and not letting any doors get in our way, because we will just push through them together. I think that's what makes my colleagues and I just so unique, is just we are a gritty, where there is no work that's too good for us or that's not shiny enough for us, because we're willing to do it to earn our stripes and to move and earn our trail, or blaze our trail forward.
Yeah, that's great. Anastasia, I think a lot of high schoolers who don't know much about business, maybe they didn't have a parent like you, like your mom, who was in business and successful, think of business as a place where, sharp-elbowed people go and they go because they just want to make money. And if you're a woman, incidentally, you're going to be more likely to maybe confront a glass ceiling because business feels so male. How do you respond to those issues? And how did you relate to your classmates? I'm sure you related very well.
So those are very good points. I would say that, if you're interested in business, don't ever be afraid to pursue your interests. Even though there's still that proverbial glass ceiling and people are still, trying to get more women into the workforce, I would still say if it's something that interests you, pursue it and continue to persevere. One of the things I would say that Rutgers students do really well with is that they're very resilient. We also have kind of a proverbial glass ceiling. We're in the New York metro area. We're competing against a lot of Ivy League schools and very, very top business schools. So we have to make an impact with our future employers. And one thing that, I also help my future companies recruit back at Rutgers. One thing that is really excellent is that Rutgers students will go the extra mile. They will consistently try to achieve and grow and learn, and they won't stagnate. So that's definitely something I would say. If you're interested in business, just pursue it, persevere, and just continue to grow, and the opportunity will pursue.
All good advice. Anastasia, I wonder how helpful the school was in guiding your search for a job and helping you land what you wanted. A lot of university undergrads don't get the kind of hand-holding that many business school students get. There's usually a university career office that they go to, and maybe, they'll learn how to put together a resume and get an interview or two, or maybe not. But in business school, that's different. And I'm wondering what role Rutgers Business School played in helping you land in the right place.
There's a couple of things I can touch on. We did have a career management office that you could go and review your resume, do some mock interviews, kind of get some advice as to who you should reach out to if there's maybe some connections. There's a very significant alumni network. So that's something that they would also put you in touch with. We have programs like what's called Team Up, which I'm also a mentor of. So it helps mentor young students who would like to understand more about business, but are not really sure of what their path is. And this can help them connect with different companies and different people, such as myself, and have touch points and, figure out what's going to be right for them. Maybe it's something that they want to further pursue. Maybe it's something that they learn they're not interested in. So Rutgers has those programs, but also our professors had tons of office hours. They were very open to speaking with us and, providing some advice. I mean, there were some professors who would, place a phone call to help the students, but there are, opportunities for students to really grow and network. One of the things is when I graduated from Rutgers, I started working at Intel, and I helped open up that path for Intel Corporation to choose Rutgers as a preferred university.
Now, how did you land the position at Intel? Did you have an internship there, or what happened?
I actually interned at Schlumberger in Houston, Texas. So I'm familiar with Houston as well. And I loved my experience. It was during the economic downturn, unfortunately, in 2015. So I started to look at other opportunities. Intel was always on my radar screen. It's a huge company. It's consistently evolving. If you see in the news how they're consistently trying to change and grow the firm even more. So that was something I honestly applied to Intel, and they were interested in me. Because of my background and previous internships, but they also were interested in my school because of how I demonstrated myself.
Yeah, that's Brett, how did business school help your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question too. And going along Anastasia's points, definitely had an immense amount of help, both from, career services and setting up appointments with advisors and whatnot. Being involved in a professional business fraternity helped me a ton because I had that experience of being dealing with corporate events and whatnot. But ultimately, I would say being in business school really laid the foundation for me of how to think and how to just perform in a professional setting. And you're given a lot more freedom at college, and you really need to set clear expectations for yourself on how you want to live out your college experience, right? And this plays an even bigger role in your professional career. So where you have to balance a lot more things like, setting up weddings and for whatnot with Chris. So I think ultimately having that having that intense curriculum, but also all the other opportunities that you get with all of our universities in the business school really lays the foundation to how you can perform as a professional. And I felt that immensely at Gies.
Franklin, did Miami Farmer lead you to your first job and help you get it?
They sure did. So, like the other business schools on the call, I think there's always the physical infrastructure where you have the business school career center, you have the clubs and organizations, you have the culture of mentorship. But what I found was so helpful was, again, the immense experiential learning opportunities at the Farmer School, in which those really prepared me to approach and structure my thinking through those critical and creative and conceptual lenses. And I think this is so imperative because we are now equipped with this internal muscle to discuss and formulate the high level strategies, but also operationalize those strategies. And the ability to speak at both levels is an essential trait that often takes business professionals years to cultivate. But by going through those, learnings and projects, that's how I very much came to consulting. We also had, a group of us that were case prepping together, and we were able to discern, these are the types of problems and the strategies and the types of work, collaboratively together that we want to do as a future career path. And so that culture and those opportunities certainly led me to identify consulting. But I would, be remiss to not acknowledge that, along the way, I started out in a traditional supply chain internship after my freshman year at Miami. And it was a great experience, huge organization, moved to a different state for it. But it was a very valuable lesson in teaching me exactly what I didn't want to do. I was able to take that functional learning from that internship, but I recognized that the cross-functional intern projects throughout the summer is where my heart was and where I always wanted to lean in more than kind of the day-to-day roles. And so all of these opportunities that were afforded to me through my 4 years kind of lent me to consulting, and then specifically, their Deloitte's presence on campus and our strong alumni network clearly identified Deloitte as the home that I wanted to be.
Right. Great. Chris?
So I would say I can't echo enough of what everyone has already commented on. We had a business school career center where I was very close, and I still am very close with the career advisor who I worked with often. What maybe was a little unique for me was I actually graduated from an undergraduate degree with 4 internships. I had interned with 4 different companies. I was able to do that because we are in the city of Houston. So I was interning while taking classes and taking internships for class credit, where I basically was paid to pay back the class credit that I was earning and not having to take another class. It allowed me to then, I interned with ExxonMobil and I was able to sign full-time with them, and gave me that full-time opportunity. The infrastructure within the city of Houston is such that we have really partnered with so many of the companies here, which is not just energy companies, but when you think about HP and HPE and a lot of other organizations which are in the city of Houston, we're able to partner with them, and our students are given the opportunity to balance the ability for, as folks mentioned, experiential learning, because that's really where you're going to cut your teeth on how do I operate within these organizations? How do I operate within this environment? And learning for yourself, while at the same time taking those fundamental courses to really set you up for success. So that experiential learning piece, we actually, and unfortunately I never got to take this course, but there is a undergraduate research organization, and there's the ability where there's a course that you as a student are able to come in, partner with our low income kind of area around the university, partner with a small business locally, and act as a business consultant. So you are giving courses, taught by professionals, about how you could really help an organization like a small business reach success, and using your business school abilities to help them. And I think stuff like that, you're just not going to find at a lot of other places. And it's challenging because you're getting true experiential learning and experience to take forward with you and set you up for success.
So your favorite undergraduate business course, what would it be, Chris?
Oh man, so I sadly I never got to take that course. I would probably say my favorite course was a supply chain course, and it's not my degree. It wasn't anything necessarily that I probably use technically in my day-to-day life, but what made it different was that it was an honors business course, and it focused so much on our technical ability to communicate and communicating effectively in writing, in emails, and in presenting ourselves. Because a lot of folks have a lot of stuff in our heads, but we aren't able to communicate our message and sell it for someone else to actually receive it in the way we are trying to convey. And that, for me, incredibly valuable. I will use those skills until my dying day. I'll probably use it on my wedding night, right? As I'm thanking people and speaking with people. That's just, it goes over your entire life. And I can't stress that class enough.
Boy, I wish we all could attend your wedding and watch your speech.
I'll give you the Zoom link, John.
Okay. Brett, your favorite course?
Yeah, I think my favorite course in undergrad was personal wealth management. It was a course taught by a great professor who, his whole motto is, I want you to actually learn in this class. It was mostly upperclassmen, so I know this might be more gibberish to our audience, but figuring out what is a 401k, what does it mean to save for retirement, what do car loans mean, or mortgages, and everything under the sun in terms of your own personal wealth management. I thought, sure, important being a business major, but just incredibly important just to be a human and to be living life. And as you enter the real world, what it all means, especially if you maybe didn't come from somewhere where you have that knowledge and you weren't familiar with it. So I thought it was, taught very well and very applicable just to, post-grad life. So I would say that was also my favorite class.
Yeah, I mean, basic financial literacy is a really valuable thing to have. And there's much too less emphasis on it for a lot of people who then struggle with a lot of financial decisions in their early lives. Anastasia,
Exactly.
your favorite undergraduate business course, what was it?
If I think about it, probably industry client projects. So this was a class where you kind of did like a internship with a firm. It was an actual company that Rutgers had approached, and they gave us actual data and client studies that we could work on. And it was kind of like my first foray into consulting and working with the client, applying my knowledge, kind of figuring out how do I, task manage, project manage. It was like a really great experience. And we had frequent check-ins with the client and would tell them about different updates if we were having questions. And then also we would present to them our final product and give them our benchmarking case study.
And you worked in a team with your classmates on that,
yes,
right?
So there was a team of 5.
What industry was it?
So actually roofing. So GAF is like the 3rd largest roofer and they're in Parsippany, New Jersey. And they were one of the companies that said, yes, we'd be willing to give you some information and data.
Fascinating. Franklin, what do you say?
So as you were asking the others, I was like, scrolling through in my head all of the awesome classes that we took. And perhaps this might sound a little lame, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't say it. But the Intro to Marketing class, that's part of the business core curriculum, taught by a professor named Jan Taylor, who is a legend at the Farmer School of Business. And I picked this class in particular because, like Anastasia, it was really kind of the unlocking of my interest in retail specifically and marketing transformation. So like Anastasia's class, we worked with Abercrombie and Fitch, and the charge was, how do you drive in-store foot traffic? And we did a semester-long project on kind of, at the time, omni-channel was the buzzword. I mean, it still is, but it was a new concept back then. And we really, dove deep into the exploration of what did it mean to be a truly omni-channel retailer, and worked with the client counterparts throughout the semester, and then presented, of course, at the end our findings. But that was an awesome opportunity to kind of tap into my marketing interests, and then, of course, retail. But I think that class really goes beyond just, the learning of the core marketing principles. Jan really sets us up for success in life. She really teaches us that life is a series of trade-offs. And so, whether it's, time or treasure or, jobs, like you have to figure all of that out. And, you're in business school now. And so business school is a series of trade-offs. And it's time that you start evaluating your opportunities and start charting your own path so that you can have a career in what you want to have. And I credit a lot of my success to, of course, the farmer school, but particularly this professor in particular, because she really set us up on the right road there.
Would you say that's the most important lesson you learned in your undergraduate studies?
I actually would. I think, just like how to evaluate opportunities, like the farmer school, I would say like offers you just so many gifts, I'll call them. And it's up to you to receive all of them or some of them or none of them. But undergraduate business education, like I was saying, is truly 4 years of a series of trade-offs. And it's like between, in the context of school, it's coursework, extracurriculars, internship and full-time recruitment, and like personal priorities. And so having 4 years to thread together a series of experiences, saying yes to some and no to others, like takes forethought and it takes diligence and a combination of creativity and control to maximize value across all of those dimensions. And so after school, like you'll learn that your job and your life is a series of trade-offs in just the same fashion. And you cannot do everything. There's just not enough time or resources. So what's right for you may not be right for the person seated next to you in class or vice versa. So you have to take command of your own kind of career path, if you will, to determine the best course of action for, the years to come.
Yep. Brett, your most important lesson learned during your undergraduate studies?
Yeah, Franklin kind of alluded to it on the tail end there. I would say ultimately there's no one size fits all, right? I just gave a little bit of my experience of starting out as a political science major and changing courses there. So I would say, you don't need to just do something because, the student next to you did it or your friend did it or anything like that. Find out what interests you and just pursue it and keep having that self-reflection throughout the process to then say, I do like this, let's keep going, or I don't, and take a step back to reassess. It may be hard, uneasy, it will bring up a lot of questions, but that's where the ultimate learning is done, is when you get to that point. The fork in the road, right? The road less traveled, whatever you can say in whatever analogy there. But I would say, find out what interests you and take that next step in that direction, as what works for you is not going to work for someone else.
Chris, your most important lesson, and you got a bonus out of your education. You're going to get married. You found your life partner.
That's true. That's probably my number one teacher is probably my fiance, soon to be wife. She educates me. One of my perfect foils is what I would say is it's perfectly imperfect for ourselves. But I would say, echoing what Franklin and Brett have already said, I would say the biggest lesson I learned for myself is to define my own success. Is to define my own success for me, and it's not going to be based off of someone else's accolades, someone else's opportunities, but taking the time to make my own decisions, define my own success for myself. But then, and I probably, I try to instill this as I mentor folks. Similar to Brett, I actually have 2 younger sisters. So I'm the only boy of a family, but I have 2 younger sisters. And I gave my youngest sister the advice that, while you're in college, I hope that you learn how to fail and how to pick yourself back up and to redefine what your success will look like, because the opportunity in college to do that is incredibly valuable. And in the real world, you have much bigger stakes. But when you're in college, take the time to step back and to analyze your decisions and analyze what you want for yourself. And it's okay for that to change. And it's okay to get new information and to make new decisions. And that would say, I would say that is probably my largest lesson.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson to learn. Anastasia, how about you?
One of my biggest lessons was probably to learn how to give back to Rutgers and future Rutgers graduates. And that's why I stay so involved with the school through different mentoring programs and helping to recruit at the firms I work at, just to bring in more Rutgers students and give them further opportunity. It was so impactful to me that my professors constantly gave back to us, gave us their time, and they also gave us their resources and their knowledge and these real world experiences that we would never have had or known about if we just read the textbook. So that was one of the things that's just been so impactful to me, and it still continues to be.
Yeah. I want each of you to transport yourself back to the days when you were a junior or senior in high school, and then use the knowledge you've gained through your education and your work experience to offer advice to a current high school student who's about to embark on their college journey. And maybe it's in business. Anastasia, let's start with you. What's your advice?
I would say if you're interested in business, like I've mentioned before, definitely pursue it. If it's an interest, it's something you want to hear more about, start to attend some of those intro classes, just see if that's going to be of interest to you. But also don't just limit yourself to that, because sometimes your intro classes is not going to be enough to know if this is something you really want to pursue. And business has so many different opportunities that, within business, you can have finance, you can have supply chain, you can have business analytics, you can marry those two together. You can do different things with your programs. So if you have an interest in business, like I did, I would definitely pursue it. Kind of go to a couple classes, talk to some people, meet with some professors if you can, and just see if there's further interest that lies.
Yeah, good advice. Rhett, what would you have to say to today's high school juniors or seniors?
Yeah, I alluded to it earlier, but I would say just be curious, right? Be inquisitive, be curious. No one's going to expect you both when you're coming into college and then after college to know everything or know next to one thing. So just come in, ask questions and be eager to learn. I think if you can have that eagerness to learn, it will apply to anything in life, and that's especially included with business. It'll help with forging relationships with professors and the College of Business in a whole that you're attending. So just be curious, ask those questions. You hear all the time through high school, hey, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there really isn't. Just keep being curious to ask those questions, as that's where the learning will be done. And if you have the question, chances are someone else does too.
Chris, what would you advise your younger self?
So I would advise my younger self to go into wherever you choose, whether it is business school and whether it is, the university that you end up attending. Throw yourself fully into it. Don't wait until your senior year to then say, okay, now is the time to get involved. Now is the time to go meet my professors. Go take those opportunities. Go throw yourself in and be involved in where you are. And that can even start in high school where you all are now. That translates to the workforce and in the organizations that you are working for. But taking a moment to be present in the activities and in the opportunities that you have signed up for will only lead to dividends received on yourself. And you really don't want to short yourself of an opportunity to just be involved in the communities and in the universities or workforces that you choose to be a part of.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Franklin?
Yeah, similar to Chris's vein of thought there, I would offer up two mantras to follow essentially. So the first being, speak the language of the person you want to become. And secondly, surround yourself with those who make you better. So quite frankly, find and position yourself in a community, whether it's a business school community or another community, where you find peers that will motivate and grow you, and gravitate towards the business school culture where it is the norm to be involved and have multiple internships, to be curious, exploring different business problems, if you will, and just immerse yourself fully. And so go to a school where peer mentorship is in the fabric of that school so that you can benefit from all of those things. And then, like Anastasia's point, give back to that culture as well.
Yeah, great. And although, Chris and Franklin touched on this, here's a question that maybe was partially answered already, but I think we could help this person a little bit more. What activities and extracurriculars did you do in high school to prepare you for business undergraduate studies? I mean, everyone knows that, getting accepted to a business school is not easy. There are a lot of people who want to be business majors today. It is the most popular business major in America. 1 in 5 students undergrad major in business. And oftentimes the acceptance rate in business programs is much lower than it is for the general university. So Anastasia, what would you recommend in terms of what kinds of things someone should be involved in high school to not only help them prepare for business undergraduate studies, but maybe to give them a leg up in getting into a good program?
Well, I would say that my high school background was kind of not the traditional, not public school. I went to an all-girls private school. So we didn't really have a lot of business clubs or programs. It was more of just kind of in academia. So I would say that I was part of the debate club as well as Harvard Model UN and Georgetown Model UN. So some of those skills that I learned at those, performing on a debate stage or performing at like a Model UN, those were communication skills, learning how to interact with people and be fielded with questions that maybe you are not sure of and not comfortable answering at first. And you kind of have to think quickly on your feet. So my schooling was not necessarily like preparing me for business, but there's certain applicable skills that I could pull from there.
And what someone would interpret an admissions officer by your participation in those particular clubs, organizations, is that number one, you wanted to improve your ability to convince others of your position and present well. Number two, you wanted to work with people from different cultures and environments. And those are two traits that are well regarded in business school education and admissions, for sure. Brett, what activities or extracurriculars did you do? And what would you recommend a high school student to do?
Yeah, I think getting involved in anything is going to help your college application in general. I'm sure that's, well known. I was on student council, for example, which doesn't maybe tie exactly to business, but definitely just getting involved, whether it's athletics and academic clubs and whatnot, helps. My school did have some business related courses, both regular foundational as well as some AP courses. So I will say something not mentioned, if you do have the opportunity to challenge yourself and take an AP course, I highly recommend doing so, both for, of course, the AP credit, which, try really hard to get that credit, because when it might seem too far along and down the road, especially if you're a junior taking an AP or even a sophomore, you're like, oh, why do I need that credit? It will help you out and probably help your parents out with some, of course, tuition as well. But it also will challenge you, and you'll learn both about the business, but also how you can push yourself and what it really will take to excel in business in your undergraduate career.
And Chris is shaking his head about those AP courses that can save parents some money further down the line. Chris, would you advise being involved in certain types of clubs or to gain leadership experience, for example, and as a high schooler?
Yeah, John. So what I would say is I did theater. I've done theater for 10 years of my life, just for fun in high school, middle school, and in college, actually. And that by no means is a one-to-one translation into the business world. I would argue, and could probably sit here and argue it is, but it's not traditionally viewed that way. I think it goes back to kind of what Brett mentioned and what I gave as advice is take the time to invest in where you choose to participate. Odds are, if you choose to invest there because you already enjoy that hobby or that activity, you're going to take leadership positions and you're going to care about what those organizations are doing. And for me, it was I worked part-time during high school and I did theaters, and I took leadership positions in both where I was working and in theater. And there wasn't, I wasn't doing 20 bajillion things. I was balancing my schedule of maintaining good grades, maintaining my leadership positions, and making sure that I was taking the time to invest in those areas. So it's not one specific organization. It's not one specific role. It's just taking the time to take stock of where you are and being given the opportunities to lead and frankly, getting that experience as a high schooler.
Yeah, and I like your earlier statement, be present in whatever you do. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many distractions today, and we're so glued to social media and our phones. Be present. Enjoy your life, absorb it, take the lessons from it, participate, be engaged, stay out of your phone when you're with human people, connect with them, okay? When they're in front of you, face to face, all right? It's really important. Franklin, last words.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with everything that's been said, and I'm not sure how much more value I can add, but like these guys, I was involved in a smattering of things across the high school, everything from the drum major of my 300-person marching band to a captain of the Science Olympiad team to National Honor Society president and student council. And like what's been said is, think about what excited you most And in what circumstances did you take issue and move it to an impact? And that's where you'll find kind of where your passions lie. And that's where you should start aligning those things with what you want to pursue in the professional world. But again, it's all about those translatable skills. Like I would agree, like I think, you know, being involved in marching band and getting up in front of a stand full of fans and 300 people in front of me and having them all look at me was a direct business application. That showmanship and that confidence to get up in front of a room and just, you know, take over was kind of no sweat when we would go into communications class or now a professional business meeting with, you know, Fortune 500 executives. And so all of those experiences are truly good and they add up, and you'll be in our shoes in a couple short years and you'll reflect back and be like, you know what, at the time, I didn't know why that soul experience was valuable, but you'll kind of see it add up along the way.
That's all good advice. Hey, thank you really tremendously, Anastasia, Brett, Franklin, and Chris. It was a great session. You added a lot of value to people. And Chris, congratulations. I hope you have beautiful weather for your wedding. It comes off without a hitch. Where are you going on your honeymoon?
Thanks, John. We are actually taking advantage of the work from home setup. So we're taking a month-long honeymoon now. We're going to Seattle, we're going to Hawaii, and we are still uncertain on the last 2 weeks of our vacation. And we're still saying, you know, we'll figure it out. That's the beauty of this remote environment. I get to meet new friends on this call virtually, and then we also get to work from wherever we want, really, in the US. So stay tuned. We're not certain where we'll be working, but we'll be working from somewhere.
Hey, Chicago is a great place to be. Frankly, so is Nashville.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, well, you know, you're close to New York. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for watching. And I want to really thank our panelists who are all super excellent and really great people. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thank you.